Hey everybody, this is Joel. I'm down at Boom Comics in Topeka, Kansas, and I'm here to introduce Dryden Steam today. So those of you who are familiar with the Dryden Experiment and how we work, bear with me for just a minute. I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction just to the concept for folks who are visiting us for the first time associated with Dryden Steam, and then we'll get into the Dryden Steam universe itself and talk a little bit about how it works. So what is the Dryden Experiment? Well, there is a really remarkable change that has happened in the publishing industry, whether you're talking about publishing books or building movies, building video games, computer games, role-playing games, and that is that the access to the market is almost completely broken down. Anybody can take their work out to the Android app site, out to Lulu or CreateSpace or Kindle Direct Publishing, and put things into the market today. It's really very easy to get into the market, and it's really, really awesome. There's this tremendous diversity of material showing up in the market that never could have shown up before when you had to go through sort of one of the big five publishers in order to get published. And that's very, very cool, but there's a sort of a drawback to it, and that is that there are now over 12 million books listed on Amazon. And if you hit the market without good support behind your book or whatever the material is that you're creating, it just kind of vanishes. It's out there, and your friends know it's out there, but nobody else really knows to go look for it. So it's a time of tremendous opportunity in terms of the ability to get into market, but also a sort of a time of serious challenge in terms of how to get anybody to notice that you're in the market. So we at the Dryden Experiment got this idea, and that is that working cooperatively, those of us who really love the art, those of us who really love the stories, those of us who really love to build videos, if we can work together, right, we can get into the market together and then draw attention to each other in the market together. So our very first experiment, the one that we've been working on for the last 3 years, was a science fiction universe, and it still is a science fiction universe. We continue to work on it. And what we did is we built faster than light travel rules, we built alien species, we built a history of the future, and then we put all of that under the Creative Commons BYSA 4.0 license, which I encourage you to read. I'll put the link below. And what that license says is that as long as you acknowledge that it came from us and help identify us, and you put the material that you create under the license also, you are free to riff on our material, and you don't have to pay licensing fees, and you don't have to get anybody's approval. But then, because you also put your material under the 4.0 license, then anybody else who is interested in what you've done has the same opportunity. So what has happened over the course of the last 3 years is that universe has just blossomed. We've got somewhere between 7 and 12 authors writing in the universe actively right now. We've got 3 books in print in the universe. We've got, I think, a total of 6 more that we're expected to have in print by the end of 2015. And just the things that have grown out of that universe are amazing. I built the original universe just kind of as the foundation, and then just the growth is just amazing. This artist named Charlotte Garnier out of Canada came along, and she really loves whales, and so she built cybernetic space whales that exist in our universe, and we wrote a history for them that explains how they got off of Earth and what they do now that they're out in space, and so on and so forth. And then Gavin Revitt, who is an artist out of Sheffield, England, got a hold of them, and he got really interested in the idea that whales can sing out in the ocean. You can hear them for thousands of miles, this whale song, and that they would manipulate the fabric of space-time in such a way that they could now sing across space-time and communicate across vast distances this way. And it was just an awesome concept, and it's something I never would have dreamed up, never could have dreamed up. And that's just one example. There are whole empires now growing out there in the Dryden Experiment. I have a meeting Tuesday night with an author on the East Coast of the U.S. who wants to add another entire empire with its whole history out into the far future of the Dryden Experiment. And then Friday night at 9:30, we're hosting our weekly update meeting, and we're having it Friday night late so that it's mid-morning Saturday for our authors and artists in Australia, which Greta Van der Roel, who also has a empire in our universe, is in Australia, as is Nick Mall, who is designing the role-playing game. So we're just having this phenomenal success. It's just amazing. And the reason why I'm here talking today is because as exciting as all of that is, there are a lot of authors, a lot of artists, a lot of designers who just aren't into science fiction, and we're missing them. And kind of the feeling is like we should create an environment where every author who is willing to work cooperatively, and I should say, I'm not sure I said earlier, so I'm gonna go back a minute before I go on. The other thing that happens is once you get all of these authors and artists working together and building this shared universe, is they naturally cross promote each other. Laura Conrad's author page has art on it by artists from around the world. She's from Canada, and she's got British artwork on it and American artwork on it. And we have an author and artist page that has, I think, 530, 540 folks, and every time we post out there, that's cross promotion for everybody. Everybody's got Twitter accounts, of course, and we feed into each other's Twitter accounts, and we get tremendously more market reach than we ever would have gotten working by ourselves. And so that's the second half of the story I didn't finish earlier. Was we work together to share and build a universe that's absolutely amazing in scope, and then we increase our market reach tremendously by multiply by however many times there are people working in the Dryden Experiment at a given point in time. And the reputation just builds itself. I gave an interview 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and I saw sales on my book, even though that wasn't what we talked about at all in the interview. Just because somebody went and Googled my name, and we support each other back and forth like that, and it's absolutely fantastic. All right, so now back to what a lot of people aren't into science fiction. So the idea is that we are now going to work on a set of alternate universes that embrace a lot of different styles and a lot of different genres in order to allow there to be environments that are available for folks no matter what it is you like to write, draw, code, film, etc., etc., etc. And the first of those that we're releasing this week, we're going to start work on, is called Dryden Steam, and it's our steampunk environment. I have a kind of a personal feeling about steampunk. It's been around for a long time, and it's a very interesting genre. It has a texture to it that is just different. There's a line in the Guild where one of the actors says, "Steampunk is steampunk, definable only by the word." And it's kind of like pornography. There's a saying about pornography that it's hard to define, but you know it when you see it. Steampunk is interesting, and it's cool, and it continues to live kind of on the side and marginalized. It's not as big a hit as other genres. If I could go the rest of my life and not see another zombie movie and see 10 times more steampunk instead, I would be very happy, because zombie is beaten to death and nobody's paying attention to steampunk. Well, not nobody, but it's certainly not World War Steam instead of World War Z, right? So we're going, first of all, for our first alternate universe besides our science fiction universe, we're going to build a steampunk universe under the Creative Commons. And I'm going to take it on a little bit differently than we did the last one. That when we started the science fiction universe, it was literally just me. And all of the wonderful people who have come on and contributed since then have been absolutely awesome. But that first set of sort of definitions I did by myself. I designed the faster than light travel rules. I wrote some history for the future and blah, blah, blah. And I have loved the things that have grown from the people who have become involved so much that I want to try to avoid doing the initial definition for Dryden Steam. I want folks like you who believe in steampunk and who feel passionately about steampunk to define what Dryden Steam looks like. What I'd like to do is I'd like to start collecting short stories and art with the idea of maybe putting out a collection of short stories, or maybe even a collection of art if we found that we had the art that was the best, and allow the alternate Earth that is the steampunk Earth to rise out of that. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about the concept of steampunk and the kind of things that I'm interested in seeing. But really, you all are all way ahead of me on this already. And what I really want you to do is start sending me materials that we can start working together to get a world map going and get sort of a steam history of the Earth going. So the kind of the framework that I have, and it's very, very loose. I think that everything that happens in our steampunk universe happens in our solar system. I think most of it happens on Earth, but it's alternate Earth. I don't think we need the country England and the country the United States, but certainly those sort of stylistic things. You know, I've seen some steampunk that was done from the American Civil War, and of course there's a lot of steampunk that's done that's Victorian era England. That's sort of the de facto home of steampunk. And so I'd like to see a lot of sort of alternate Earths, alternate nations, alternate history, but following a sort of a similar line. I saw a steampunk-esque story where World War One was about to break out, and everybody was stomping around in giant mechs rather than actual historical objects. And it was, are we going to fight the aliens or are we going to fight World War One? So it was not America, it was not England, so on and so forth. But you could recognize it. I mean, they had Teddy Roosevelt in it, for Pete's sake. So you know, it was pretty obviously parallel America, right? But beyond that, I really am very open. I'm not sure if there's sort of a magical element. Some of the steampunk things that I've written in the past are kind of a magical element. So maybe there's kind of a magical element. I don't think we have to stay on Earth. I think the colonization of Mars, sort of, if you remember old golden era science fiction with the cowboys on Mars and the princesses and so on and so forth. I think we could do some things around the solar system with steampunk, but definitely steampunk first. The Treasure Planet that was the Disney movie had that wonderful crescent moon that was actually a shipyard. I thought that was a wonderful image, and I'd love to see somebody sort of develop some things like that. Maybe we fly through the ether and it's not really space in the vacuum of space at all. I don't know. Somebody proposed something to me. But then what we'll do is on the author and artist page, we'll start posting materials and start building a shared history and start building, you know, the names of countries and what's happened in those countries. We'll start I keep trying to say Wikipedia, and that's not the word that I want at all. WordPress blog where we can keep track of things and keep things organized. And then as we begin to have publishable materials, the way that Dryden works is that you're free to publish yourself. You're free to work with any publisher that you want to work with. And then there's also Dryden House, which Tracy Vincent and I run. And it's sort of a service industry. If you don't want to publish yourself, but you do want to work in Dryden, we provide editing services and some other services like that. But that's a conversation we can have offline. But let's get the universe going. Let's get some fans behind it. Let's get some art behind it. And let's get some things mapped out with this new alternate future. I'm very excited to be starting Dryden Steam, and I hope that this message has gotten you excited. Look below for the link to the Facebook page. Look below for the Creative Commons page, and look below for my email if you just want to get some more information from me. I'm Dryden Experiment at yahoo.com. That's DrydenExperiment at yahoo.com. All right. I'm Joel. This is Boom Comics. Thanks for joining us.